Greetings, my name is D, and I have a question for you. What is the message? You see me, you see where I am, you create a concept of what I am, maybe. You may even establish a narrative as to what I'm trying to express or how I'm trying to manipulate you through those perceptions. And that's even before you have even begun to consider what I'm trying to say. So again, what is a message? Several philosophical theories deal with this topic. Medium as a message, nonverbal communication, form as function. There are even theological arguments as to the requirements and effects on grace of the messenger with regards to the validity of the message. Then, is the messenger the message? Or to put it another way, why do you believe that anything, is true? The obvious question of what truth means we'll leave for another time. Because you're here and not elsewhere, I won't bore you or exalt you with the normal diatribe of you decide or what do you think, turning everything into opinion. I will simply give you a direct message and have it hold up to evidence or not. The observational information from looking at human behavior and societal comport will have us conclude that the messenger is indeed the message for all practical purposes. But I ask you this, are you comfortable with this state of affairs? Consider the implications. This means that regardless of the import or validity of the information itself, humans will only accept it as valid if and only if the entity delivering the message is valued as true. It doesn't matter if I tell you water is wet, because I am who I am, or what you believe I am, you will disregard the information itself as false, whether useful or not, or valid or not. But it doesn't end there. Worse, you will disregard the need to check or in some way validate whether the information is in fact. You will simply turn off your cognitive abilities and your critical thinking based on the perception of the source. So by fault only of appearance or provenance of the delivery vehicle, a demonstratively factual characteristic is wrongly catalogued as false. Some would attribute this to the theological or moral logic, whereby it is impossible for good to come from evil, or truth from lies. And here again, we will find people turn the message into the messenger by arguing that the fault is of the church or whatever religious entity is dominant in your region of origin, or the institution that comes with it, disregarding the simplicity of the argument or the hypocrisy of their position, assigning value to the message given the messenger that delivers it. The more cogent and useful take on all this is a clear tendency for humans to believe in people and not in information, to accept the emotional context of the declaimer instead of the rigor of verifications, research, and experiment. In short, the unfortunate tendency of Homo sapiens to switch off their brains, or perhaps simply to transfer their critical thinking abilities to whom and what they trust. Search deeply within yourself. Can you truly say you're different? If you are to be commended, but likely you are not, because you do not consistently verify the information you receive. You do not follow the principles of trust everyone and believe no one. You do not test what you read, see, or hear. After all, who has time? The purpose of this little talk is twofold. First, it is to open your mind to the traps and pitfalls which limit almost everyone in their passage through this thing we call life. Second, it is to allow you to come to a decision whether you can accept instruction for one like me. After all, wouldn't I be the definition of an unreliable or false messenger? In the end, message, information, or values must hold up to critical thinking, must be backed up by observational evidence, must have some tangible effect, benefit, or conclusion. It must not depend on the credibility of the entity delivering it. Every modern problem traced to extremism, social networks, or radical media can be reduced to the messenger-message dichotomy. It can be reduced to the tendency to delegate the responsibility of the information we use to build our worldview to third parties, and when we don't, to attribute nobility or moral superiority to ignorance by asserting the impossibility of gaining any knowledge without personal experience. Given the limited nature of human lives, this last counter-argument is probably the worst, elevating opinion and skepticism to the level of objective fact. disregarding the value of study and experimentation, documentation, and peer review. My hope is that this little chat will be a tiny help in you not becoming a victim of the unfortunate tendencies described, that you find yourself able to take advantage of the benefit of not being like everybody else. That maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself able to take the advice of one like me. After all, who knows lie better than a liar? Who can define good better than evil? What messenger could better force you to validate the message? I'll let you decide.